Hey there, welcome back to the channel. They ignored your worth when it mattered most. They dismissed your presence like it was replaceable. They made you feel like an option, a convenience, something to be picked up and dropped whenever it suited them. You gave your time, your energy, your heart, and they didn't just take it for granted. They treated it like it didn't even matter. And now they're watching. Now they're texting. Now they're begging for access to the very peace they once disrupted. But here's the truth. What they're begging for now is what they disrespected before. And that is not love. That's regret. This video is not about bitterness. It's about clarity. It's about power. It's about standing firm in your self-worth so deeply that their return no longer shakes you. Because most people don't realize this. You don't need someone to apologize to heal. You need to stop letting their actions decide your value. There was a time you would have replied instantly. There was a time you would have been thrilled just to hear from them. But that time is over. Because now you see them clearly. You see the silence. You see the manipulation. You see the inconsistency not as confusion, but as disrespect. And you're not confused anymore. You're calm, you're focused. You've grown past the point of needing their attention to feel worthy. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. The harm is to persist in one's own self-deception." Let that sink in, because today we're ending the self-deception. We're no longer begging to be seen. We are the light. We are the standard. In this video, I'm going to give you 8 unshakable mindset shifts and strategies rooted in Stoic philosophy that will help you respond not with anger, but with power. You'll learn how to hold your peace when they return, how to stay grounded when they chase, and how to build a life so full that they can no longer reach the version of you they once disrespected. I want you to drop this in the comments before we begin. I will never shrink again for someone who couldn't see my value. This is your moment, not to go back, but to go beyond. Number 1. Respect starts with you, not them. The reason they didn't respect you before wasn't just because they were blind to your value. It's because you didn't enforce the standard. You gave too many chances. You stayed silent when they crossed the line. You explained your worth instead of embodying it. But here's the truth. What you tolerate teaches people how to treat you. In the past, you kept showing up with love, thinking that your consistency would open their eyes. But you were speaking the language of loyalty to someone fluent in convenience. And now that you've pulled away, now that you've gone silent, they're panicking. Not because they finally see you, but because they feel your absence. That absence is now louder than your presence ever was. This is why Stoic philosophy teaches emotional discipline, not as a punishment to others, but as a gift to yourself. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That means your self-respect shouldn't be something you talk about. It should be something you live daily. You don't chase what disrespects you. You don't lower your frequency to meet someone in their confusion. You hold the line, because true power is quiet. It doesn't beg. It doesn't perform. It simply walks away when the standard isn't met and watches who notices the silence. And now that they're noticing, you don't need to prove anything. Let them feel the weight of your absence. Let them realize that what they once dismissed is no longer available. You're not being cold. You're being clear. This isn't payback, it's protection. You've risen, and with that rise comes a new requirement. If they want access to you, they must now meet you at the level of your worth. not their memory of who you used to be. So the next time they come back around, remember this: respect isn't something you demand from others, it's something you command from within. And when you do that, the world, including them, responds accordingly. Drop this in the comments if you're reclaiming your standard today. I don't chase respect, I embody it. Number 2. Your absence spoke the truth. Their ego couldn't hear. When you stopped showing up, when you stopped replying, when you walked away from the disrespect, they didn't get it at first. They thought it was a game. They thought you'd come running back, but days turned into weeks. And that silence they once found amusing became deafening. Because your absence wasn't just silence, it was truth. It was a mirror that forced them to sit with themselves. And here's the thing: people don't like mirrors, especially not the ones that expose how selfish, careless, or blind they were. But you didn't leave to punish them. You left to protect yourself. And now they're begging, not because they suddenly became wise, but because the weight of your absence is heavier than they expected. You see, psychologically, we don't crave what is easy. We crave what makes us feel. And when you took your energy away, it created an emotional vacuum. The ego hates emptiness. The ego hates losing control. And now they're spiraling, not because they love you deeply, but because they never thought they'd lose the access they took for granted. The Stoics knew this, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Your strength is in your evolution. You didn't shout, you didn't blame, you didn't seek revenge. You simply became unavailable. And that quiet power, your absence filled with growth, is what's haunting them now. So don't let their return convince you that your silence was wrong. It was the boldest truth you ever delivered. Let them sit in that realization. Let them come back changed, not just emotional. Because until they've earned their way back, your silence remains sacred. And that, right there, is the beginning of your peace. Number 3. Their regret is a reflection, not your reward. When they come back with teary eyes, apologies, and "I didn't know what I had until it was gone," don't be flattered, be focused. Regret isn't always love. Regret is often a reaction to consequence. It's the ego realizing it lost control. It's the discomfort of watching you glow without them. See, they didn't value your presence when it was consistent. They valued their comfort. They valued having someone loyal, available, and emotionally generous. But now that you've reclaimed all that energy for yourself, they're uncomfortable. That's what regret often is: discomfort in the face of someone else's evolution. It's not always a sign of growth on their part. And if you're not careful, you'll let their regret become your weakness. You'll confuse it with real change. But the Stoics taught us something powerful here. As Epictetus said, "It is not he who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but your opinion that these things are insulting." Translation: it's not what they say now that matters. It's what you choose to believe about it. Their regret is a mirror. It reflects your worth, your strength, and everything they failed to appreciate. But that reflection isn't your reward. It's just a signpost, a reminder that you grew, that you survived what was meant to break you, that you became someone they can no longer ignore. And you didn't do it to make them jealous or to win them back. You did it to finally win yourself. Because when you start showing up for yourself unapologetically, the people who only valued you when you were shrinking can't handle the version of you that's now standing tall. So when they come back saying, "I miss you," don't melt. Stay rooted. Ask yourself, do they miss me? Or do they miss having power over me? Do they miss me, or do they miss what I gave without boundaries? Because if they're not returning with changed behavior, deeper awareness, and earned access, then their regret is just a whisper from the past, and you're not going backward. You're not chasing closure. You are closure, and your life moving forward in peace is the loudest message they'll ever receive. Number 4, forgiveness doesn't mean access. They think because they apologized, they deserve another chance. They think because they finally see your worth, you're obligated to let them back in. But here's what they fail to realize. Forgiveness is about peace, not permission. You can forgive someone deeply and still never speak to them again. You can release the weight of what they did without reopening the door they once slammed in your face. Just because someone regrets their actions doesn't mean they've earned access to your healed version. The Stoics understood this distinction. As Seneca said, "A wise man is content with himself. He can live in harmony with those who are different from him, but he is not dependent on them." That means you can be at peace, you can be free of resentment, and still say no to their return. Forgiveness is an act of strength. But allowing someone back into your space without growth, without accountability, without change, that's not strength, that's self-betrayal. And you've come too far to betray yourself again. When they beg to come back, look not at their words, but at their patterns. Don't be moved by their tears. Be moved by their effort. Real change is consistent. It's quiet. It's respectful. If they're trying to rush back into your life, skip over the pain they caused and just get things back to normal. They're not really sorry. They're just uncomfortable with the consequences of your boundary. So stand firm. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them a second chance. You owe yourself peace. Forgiveness is internal. Access is earned. One is healing. The other is a decision. Choose wisely. Because letting them back in too quickly tells them that disrespect has no lasting consequence. And you are not a revolving door. You are not available on demand. You are sacred space now. Let them knock. Let them wait. Let them prove they're not just reacting to regret, but actually ready to respect what they once destroyed. Number 5. Your glow-up isn't for revenge, it's for resurrection. They didn't respect you when you were soft, loyal, consistent. They didn't value your love when you gave it freely. They confused your empathy for weakness, your patience for desperation. But now they see you rising. Now they see the glow, the strength, the peace in your eyes. And suddenly they want a seat at your table again. But let's be clear, your evolution is not their reward. It's not a performance. It's not revenge. It's a resurrection. You brought yourself back to life when they left you for emotional dead. And now that you've rebuilt, now that you've reclaimed your time, your boundaries, your worth, they see what they missed. And they're begging to be part of your new story. But what they forgot is, they don't own a chapter anymore. The Stoics didn't teach us to become powerful so we can hurt others. They taught us to become powerful so we can't be hurt in the same way again. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Your transformation isn't about making them feel what you felt. It's about showing the world and yourself that no one gets to define your worth but you. You don't need to flaunt your growth. Just live it. Just become so peaceful, so disciplined, so magnetic in your own skin that their old version of you becomes unrecognizable. That's the real glow-up, not louder, just more grounded, not angrier, just more detached. You are no longer the person who begged for clarity, cried for closure, or settled for breadcrumbs. You are the storm they thought would pass. And now, you're the calm after it. And that calm is louder than any scream. So don't explain your healing. Don't update them on your glow-up. Let them wonder. Let them regret. Let them watch from a distance the version of you they can no longer reach. Number 6. Begging isn't proof of change. Consistency is. The moment they start begging, sending long texts, saying, "I messed up," or showing up with flowers and promises, it's tempting to believe them, to think their words mean growth. But don't confuse noise for transformation. People often panic when they lose control. What looks like remorse can be fear. What sounds like love can be ego screaming for validation. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake performance for progress. You'll think their desperation means devotion, but real change doesn't beg, it behaves. It doesn't rush in with drama. It returns with calm, steady, earned presence. Stoic wisdom teaches us that truth is measured by action, not words. As Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And giving someone repeated access without evidence of change, that's how we waste our lives. Because if they respected you, they wouldn't just say they've changed, they would show it every day without being told. So when they beg, stay calm. Watch, observe, not just today, but over time. Are they consistent or just momentarily emotional? Are they different or just afraid of losing their old supply? Because many people don't miss you. They miss what you did for them. They miss the comfort, the safety, the energy, but that doesn't mean they've earned you back. You are not a safe haven for people who left you in the storm. You are not their emotional rehab center, and your healing is not an invitation for them to return casually. If they want you back, let their actions earn it. Let their energy stay consistent. Let their growth show. Not once, not for a week, but over time. Otherwise, their begging is just noise, and your peace is too expensive to trade for noise again. Number 7. Who you became without them is the real victory. They're not just reacting to your silence, they're reacting to who you've become in that silence. The version of you that once questioned your worth is gone. The version that begged, over-explained, forgave too quickly. That version doesn't live here anymore. You built yourself from the ruins of disappointment. You got up after being emotionally torn apart. And now, they're not just begging for another chance. They're begging for access to someone they never truly knew how to value. But here's the truth. They were necessary for your evolution. Their disrespect was the spark. Their absence was the space. And your growth? That was the fire. Stoic wisdom reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That was Marcus Aurelius. And that disrespect, that abandonment, that pain, it became the way, the path to your power. That's why, when they come crawling back, it's not about them anymore. It's about you, about who you are now, about the boundaries you've built, the peace you've protected, the confidence you carry. That's the real win. Not the apology, not the validation, but the unshakable strength you earned through solitude and self-discipline. You're not the same person, and that means you don't make the same decisions. Just because they're begging doesn't mean you have to respond. You're not obligated to reopen a door just because someone knocks, especially not when that door leads back to the version of you that didn't know your worth. So smile if you want to, forgive if you need to. But remember this, who you became without them is the proof that they were never your source. You were. You always were. And now, you're untouchable. Number 8, respect is not recycled, it's rebuilt or replaced. If they didn't respect you when they had you, it's because they believed you'd never leave. They believed your loyalty would outlast their laziness, And now that they've lost access, they're suddenly remembering your value. But remember this: real respect isn't something that snaps back into place with a text message or a sudden apology. Respect is built over time. It's built when someone sees your boundaries and doesn't try to bend them. It's built when someone chooses consistency over convenience, when someone chooses truth over charm. Most people don't beg because they've changed. They beg because your silence exposed what they took for granted. Stoic philosophy teaches us to be anchored, not easily swayed. As Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. You don't need to explain why you walked away. You don't need to justify your silence or your strength. Embody it. Be the person who commands respect simply by existing, not by shouting, not by proving, but by being so firm in your peace that anything less than real love can't even reach you. If they want back in, the old rules don't apply. The old dynamics are dead. Respect must be rebuilt from the ground up, or it must be replaced with your solitude, your progress, your growth, because pretending things can go back to normal is how cycles repeat. But choosing better for yourself is how patterns break. The begging may sound sweet, the words may seem sincere, but if the respect isn't rebuilt, it's all temporary. And you've already been through temporary. This time, it's about legacy, peace, freedom. This time, your heart is not for rent. It's for those who come correct, those who show up, those who stay true. Anything less? Let it go. Because what they didn't respect then is now something they can't reach again. So, here we are. They didn't respect you then, but now they're begging. And you? You've changed. You've healed. You've become someone that doesn't need to be chased to feel worthy. Someone who doesn't need an apology to move forward. Someone who doesn't crumble when silence replaces attention. You've stepped into your power, and they feel that now. That's why they're back. Not because they suddenly became better, but because you did. But let's make one thing clear. You are not required to return to the place that broke you just because someone finally realizes your value. That realization came too late. You are no longer available for disrespect, disguised as regret. You are no longer emotionally starving, waiting for breadcrumbs. You are no longer the person who begged to be chosen. You choose yourself now. Remember what the Stoics taught us. He who is brave is free. You have reclaimed your freedom. And freedom means you get to decide who has access to your life, your energy, your love. It means you get to say, thanks for the apology, but I'm not going back to who I was just to make you feel better. Every time you stayed silent, every time you chose growth instead of revenge, every time you healed instead of begged, you became stronger. So don't let one message, one apology, one moment of weakness undo all of that. This is your time now, and you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your peace is your proof. Your growth is your revenge. Your silence, that's the loudest message you'll ever send. If this video gave you clarity, if it reminded you of your worth, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because we're not done growing, we're just getting started. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and never let anyone make you question your value again.